So, welcome to phase two or chapter two of Boomer Dioramas. So, for a good core portion of you, you followed along from the beginning about a year ago. Uh, Glover Road took just, well, about a year and a half, I would say, but I never really started the channel until I was well into Glover Road. I mean, the track had been laid and so on. So, now we all have the privilege to see the whole build. River Drive is probably going to be the name for it. And well, just let me clear up a few things first. Like the format, like the style that I'm going to do this time is going to be pretty much the same. Like I'm going to have sort of design stuff and then some theory and some bench work, some tutorials, obviously, and talks about, artistic license composition, talks about the prototype, and a lot of time we're going to spend at the layout, obviously. But they're going to be a little bit longer, these episodes. Okay, like normally there's been an average of 10 to 12 minutes or so, but they're probably going to be up in the 20-minute range because I really want to cover. One of the followers commented and said something about, well, just archive it, And I said, he raises a good point, like to archive all of this. Like Glover Road is really well archived. Like I could never have done that like 10 years ago. I was too busy, and just the YouTube platform was not user friendly. The internet was still burgeoning and maturing, and so we have that privilege now. So we really want to make this as rich an experience, not only for myself but for everybody else, like all of you. Okay, and I want to try to stimulate the theater of your mind as much as I can, so you can kind of get into where I'm thinking. I mean, you never will ultimately, but I'll ultimately make the decisions. I appreciate comments and opinions, but I'm going to take the direction that I feel best based on my experience. And let me also mention, too, that if you don't love the subject, you'll never finish it. Like an old shipbuilder, he was a unbelievable model shipbuilder, and he told me, I never forgot it, and he was right. He said, if you don't love the ship, and like I don't like to talk this way really, but he said if you don't love it with all your heart, soul, mind, and strength, you know, um, he said you'll probably never finish it. Like a ship, like a wooden sailing ship, or or any ship, especially built from scratch. But if you don't love the subject matter, I guess in the benign sense, as an act of creation or art, then why would you do otherwise? Okay, so ultimately, I have to make the right decisions that are going to, be conducive to my passion, which drives the project, right? Because if you don't have any passion, then that's we talked about burnout in the past. I'm not going to bring that up anymore. I'm going to move ahead with the railroad now. But we know, like I've shared that, right? Like I've laid the foundation. Like it's up to you that if you come late to the channel, that to spend a bit of time to go back and see some of the content to get up to speed. Because I'm not going to be backpedaling here. We're moving forward on a new project. Okay? So then, just on the name, then the name River Drive is kind of what I'm going to go with, because it's going to be probably two river features. Now there's going to be like I'm going to talk about this run here. Like I have 11 feet here, and I have 10 feet here now, and I also have a run down the other wall, but I'm not even going to talk about that right now. Like I have all of this in writing. I do, from last year, right? I got it in writing with the good wife, the lovely wife. We came to an agreement, but she gets the storage up above, which you won't see anyway. Okay? That was the deal. But anyway, now let's just jump to this quick, and then I'm going to take you into the layout where Glover Road is still there. Like you'll still see parts of her there because she's coming down slow. But I left her up for the purposes of this particular introductory design and planning video. I'm going to share some of my concepts and ideas about composition. So I'll just quickly brief all of you with this little sketch or drawing I have here, just to give you the idea of where we're going with this. Okay, so see this long rectangular red box here, this rectangle here? This is the footprint now of Glover Road, where it is, okay? So I have 2 more feet here, like the staging was right here. So I'm going to add, like this is coming out, and I'm building a new run here, okay? And this is, like it's going to curve, like see the valance here? There's going to be a curve like this. All right, there's not going to be any straight lines if I can avoid them, like except for maybe down here. But anyway, there's going to be this gentle, inviting curve. I'll point that out in a few minutes. And then you can see roughly tentatively where the barge slip. Like the barge would come way out here. Like there's no room for the barge right here right now. I mean, there might be down the road, but I'm not concerned about that right now. I want to model the barge slip itself in the approach. And the river here and the shoreline, and then there's a trackage back here that goes to some industries. Okay, and then this is going to be part of the shoreline. Like this would be the Fraser River here, like a sliver of the Fraser River, much like Glover Road, and then it'll taper off and disappear. And then this will be a large grove of trees probably in here, but that's down the road. And I'm not worried about the track plan yet. I don't want to discuss that yet, okay? That's for later. So let's move to the layout and have a visual look at the corner to give you an idea about where I'm going in terms. We're just talking composition now, okay? All right, no track plan yet. So in these next couple of episodes, I want to share some of my thoughts on, diorama, shelf layout, design, and composition. Because now we get to start fresh, right? And I know a lot of people never did see the beginning of this because I never really documented the very beginning. So now that I'm doing a whole new module with a whole new design that has the potential to have 30 linear feet instead of 8 exposed or 10 functional. So everything's going to change, and I'm just going to talk about this first module here first. And I want to share how I go about it and why I apply the principles or the art of the diorama first to a model railroad of this particular genre. I know it seems different for a lot of people, and that's okay. I've read all the books too, right? I'm quite well read on the whole model railroad hobby. I've read all the books from John Armstrong to Ian Rice, Tony Coaster, all the authors, all the bigs, all the big dudes and the masters of the hobby. I've read them all. And they're great. It's just invaluable information. But at the end of the day, I'm an artist and a modeler. And I just see things the way I see them. That's all. I mean, if I was anything like those former people I mentioned, I'd be a little bit maybe like Ian Rice. I believe he's from England, and he has the books with the beautiful watercolor artist renderings of all these wonderful concepts and ideas that are kind of like shelf layouts, really, and built sort of modular form. So that's kind of, if you could compare my style to anyone, that's probably what it would be like. But I still am somewhat undisciplined and unorthodox in the way I go about things. But that's okay, because at the end of the road, I end up with a layout that I'm quite satisfied with, right? And part of the reason for all of this is to help you get there too. So that's what I'm going to do on this next build. I'm going to take you through it. I'll spare you the grief of banging nails and spreading glue in some areas, but there's going to be quite a bit of theory here as well, and some tutorials. So put your seatbelt on. It's going to be fun. So first of all, I just want to talk about, before this layout gets taken down, I want to use it as a bit of a schoolmaster before I move on to the new build, which is going to be probably in the next week or two. Okay? So I'll begin here with this. Notice the road here. Right? This is the focal point of the layout when you come into the room. And the idea behind the road like this tapering off, like, see how you come in, it's like it's curved just slightly here. It pulls you into the scene. And you go down the road, and now you're in the scene. And now the road disappears off scene because it's not important anymore. Right? Like it's a tool. It also doubles as a clear foreground where I can view, the trains I like or the rolling stock, or get a clear view of the rising elevation of terrain and or buildings. Okay, this is composition now I'm talking about. This whole area on the new build is going to completely change. This will be the feature entry point as you come into the room, but it's going to be all modeled, and it's going to be the corner, like the end game of the barge slip. Okay? What you see here in the staging right here is going to be functional track. I'll show you a photo of that. It's in behind a stand of trees where I walk when I go to this location. And there's beautiful, like white, like they're all white warehouses. There's brewery back there. I don't know what the other buildings are for. There's a massively long white warehouse that is just cries to be modeled on a shelf layout. Even in N scale. So for you N scalers that are considering a modular like this, even in 10 feet, this particular subject is a dream. What you can do and how you can improvise it and compress it as well. And I'm going to use quite a bit of compression here because it's the only way I'm going to be able to pull it off. But one main feature right here is going to be the barge slip. The shoreline, a little bit low tide, like Fraser River shoreline with pilings and a beautiful stand of trees. I really love to do trees. So that's going to be what you see down far down there is going to be right here. It's going to hit you right in the face as soon as you come into the room. You're going to see this big stand of mixed evergreens and cottonwoods. And through the trees, you're going to see this, Code 70 backwoods rail, just like the prototype. And then in behind, they'll just like an inch deep is all I need will be these flats, like the brewery and maybe another attached warehouse, or just that one section modeled there with grass in growing in the tracks. I might even have two lines in there because there is actually a main branch running through there and a siding as well, right? And as for back here where the BC Rail Shops is and the cold storage, that's going to be this one long white or off-white warehouse that's totally prototypical. And even if I compress it, it's still going to be huge on the model. Right? And this amount of space, like this is 16 inches. So if I come out to 2 feet in a sort of rounded, sort of wine bottle type or wine glass kind of shape out here, right, where it pulls me into the scene and then tapers off down further, which is another discussion. I want it to be just to grab the viewer, just grab them right away. And the actual barge slip will be right here. So you'll be entering in kind of like this road, but it'll be track, right? And it'll be railroady right away. With all the support of the trees and just the scene that that the viewer will be just waiting uh, to nibble on or take a sip of as they're just enjoying this scene, and they're going to be pulled down and I'm going to enhance other, just the excitement of what you can do further on down the way, like down the story. It's a story, right? A diorama is a story in the round with a painted backdrop.
I use the prototype for inspiration, then I throw it out in the name of artistic license or selective compression when composing the scene. So the prototype plays a huge factor. But compromises must be made. So I'm going to take the best of that scene, I'm going to compress it, I'm going to model it. And I'll have enough of the river, the Fraser River, which I live very close to now, but further up in the valley. And there's going to be enough of it there, the muddy Fraser as they call it, and it's going to taper away like this road eventually off the scene. And then there'll be a transition into another aspect of the Southern British Columbia Railroad, SRY. So that's the first part that I want to share with you. And you can see the, like the rolling stock will probably, will be mixed freight. I'll have a few more flat cars to, to push tankers. Like I'll be able to actually simulate 2 or 3 cars maybe, like onto the barge itself. And the actual barge, well, there's a lot of options there. I could build a whole ferry, like ferries and barges link up here. But I can actually do, like people have suggested, and I've seen it before, I can build the barge as a separate module, and it can be my staging, like a fiddle yard, right? I can have a couple of barges. I've seen that done before. I've seen it where people have mounted on a dolly and wheels, and they just sort of wheel it up and then wheel it away. So that'll be cool, eh? So the only thing that I have to decide, well, I'll see when I start to build the benchwork, I'll build it square first, and then I'll add the curvatures, I'll build them out, I'll pack it out, I'll frame it out, and then when it meets the eye test, right, when it's friendly on the eyes, then I'll have my footprint and I'll compress it all to make it fit. I'm not going to just force the track schematic in and then build a frame around it. I'm not doing that. I've never done things that way. I don't like doing it that way. But I'm going to take you along and show you what I do, and it's going to be a lot of fun. Okay? So thanks for tuning in. Be excited, and thank you for all the encouragement. Thanks for all the great comments. I welcome all the criticisms, comments, humor. Keep it clean, right? And I hope people jump on board because it's going to be fun. It's going to be a fun ride. Feel free to subscribe if you haven't already and you're on the fence. Jump off the fence. Join the team, join the crew, join the group, the community, and let's have some fun and build this thing and learn something, right? So I hope you have a great day and stay tuned.